So the game, Jay Sean Taylor has finally decided to step into the boxing ring, and I'm going to talk about it. So where did I get this information from? Yesterday, just like every Sunday, No Jumper comes out with the Whack 100 Adam 22 show, right? And they talk about a whole various topics that range from hip hop to current events to everything else in between. Well, anyways, for those of you that don't know, Whack 100 is the manager of the game, also the manager of the very well known rapper known as Blueface. And he claimed yesterday that they are working on getting a deal for the game to go out and fight more than likely a YouTuber of some sort. So I'm going to talk to you about that and what I think about that particular situation. For one, I got to tell you that a lot of rappers are not willing to take this particular risk. Not at all. Obviously, Blueface has had some fights, and some you can question and say perhaps their reason for that was because they were easier fights and they were handpicked for him to win. And with the game going into a fight with a YouTuber, this probably won't be any different. However, I got to tell you, a lot of rappers out there are not willing to take this particular risk. And in particular, Soldier Boy and Chris Brown, these guys have had beef for so long, have went on a back and forth, talking bad about each other on social media. And by the way, only to never fight and sign on a dotted line to get in the boxing ring. Reason being, you got to understand, if you're a gangster rapper, you have a certain reputation about you. It's not like if you're a seasoned fighter, you fight 3 times a year, and if you lose, you win, and you win again, or you lose. It doesn't matter because this is sort of what the fans expect. You're a fighter, a seasoned fighter at that, a professional fighter at that. Your whole identity is tied around that specific space. So therefore, winning or losing sometimes is irrelevant to the product of you as a fighter and the product of you as what you present to the world. But if you're a gangster rapper, somebody who's blood affiliated, somebody who's gang affiliated, and somebody who has ties to the streets, it's almost embarrassing for you to go out there and get knocked out. And obviously, in the perception of people in that particular circumference, are going to see you as somebody who's soft, somebody who is not worthy of the title of being a gangster. When there's guys that are professional fighters, and even though you're a gangster, they may be tougher than you, they lose fights all the time. But because you are this particular guy, the game, okay, the guy who has had, what do you call it, public beefs with 50 Cent, now currently with Eminem, and then obviously that was just more of like a rap battle. But either way, your reputation is on the line. It's only like as if you got one shot to do it. So once again, I don't think I'm really that surprised if, let's say, they were to set him up with a fight that is winnable. Blueface, who's also managed by Whack 100, also got himself a fight in the BKFC. Not an actual bare knuckle fight, but more like a celebrity division boxing match in which they put on the gloves, whereas the entire card of that BKFC card was consisted of, let's say, guys fighting with bare fists. And Blueface also did an exhibition bout out in England against a gentleman who was also a social media influencer out in England. I believe his name was Matthews or something like that. But this is the trajectory that game is going into, and I think that he's going to do quite well. I got to tell you why. The game has an absolutely great athletic background. He grew up playing all types of different sports. Obviously, none of them were combat sports or martial arts to any degree, but having a background in football, which by the way is a very huge culture out here in California, also basketball, which translates a lot to speed, explosive, and sheer athleticism and agility, I think will really lend itself very positively in the fight game. Now, the thing is, I got to tell you, with that in mind, I think boxing is a little bit too simple for somebody who is huge and athletic as the game. Now, obviously, none of this is going to change. He's not going to go into MMA. It's going to be a boxing match. But for me, I would suggest an MMA fight simply for 2 reasons. For one, I think him doing an MMA fight would lend himself his athletic attributes. Because I got to tell you, boxing is such a specialized sport. It's also very limited. And also, when you have a certain athletic ability, there's only so much that you could do with just 2 hands and your feet moving around. Whereas with MMA, there's the dynamics of using fly-in knees, fly-in kicks, spinning attacks, and all these things where you can really express your agility to the highest maximum order. Now, that's not going to change because they're setting him into a boxing ring. So either way, I think he's going to do good considering that these matchups are going to be tailor-made for him. And by the way, how ironic that is, his last name is Taylor, so it's tailor-made for the game, Jay Sean Taylor, nonetheless. But that's all that I really have for now. I'm going to come up with some more updates when we find out more information on this topic at hand. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys soon, inshallah.